Well, Drew, happy opening day here in Denver, Colorado. The Rockies are taking on the Nationals in Coors Field. It is the season home opener. Such a big day. I am sure you're very excited. What are you most excited about?
I mean, oh no, wow. Oh no, the hardest question's going first.
Yeah, that was just for you. That was just for you.
I know, right? I was not prepared for this one. It's hard to say, Kim. Like I love opening day so much. Honestly, okay. The answer to your question is, and this is a total cop out, but it's just being there, being down there. I go to a lot of baseball games. I've covered a lot of baseball games in my life and watched far more. But there really is nothing like the atmosphere of being down at Lodo on opening day. I've been at a few road openers. I've been at a few opening days in other places, and I can't claim that the Rockies and Coors Field do it better than everyone else. There's some pretty great traditions in some other cities and things. But as far as just a big vibing party goes, it's hard to beat opening day in Lodo. Everyone right there in the city, a lot of people that walk out, come out to all the bars and restaurants around the place and are pre-gaming for hours, that all the bars are open at like 7 a.m. These places that don't normally open till like 1 or like lunchtime or whatever. And it's just the vibes are flowing, the music outside. That's the stuff I really love about it, is it's great to have all that pomp and circumstance around a baseball game, because more often than not, a ball game is one of 162, and it is what it is. But I love all that stuff, all the extra nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything we can at least enjoy today and all the exciting things that come with opening day here in Denver. So definitely going to be quite the scene at Coors Field. But let's talk about out there on the baseball diamond. Who are you most excited to have fans see at large, up close this afternoon?
That is a great question. So the answer to this really is the young guys. It's the left side of the infield. It's Tovar, it's Montero. Those are the guys to get excited about. They haven't gotten off to a super hot start, but both looked fine on the road. So maybe some of the home energy will get them going or whatever. But I will say, it's hard to beat Kyle Freeland pitching at home on a on a big day in front of the Denver crowd, Denver zone. Everyone knows the story at this point. I don't have to tell it all again, though I do like telling it. It's a fun one. But those are the guys I think to get really excited about for right now. Low key one, though, and I hope, like, here's what I'll say. You'll know the fans who are really plugged in. Like, we're not gatekeeping around here. We don't gatekeep fandom, but the really good Rockies fans. I said it. If Pierce Johnson gets to come into the game out of the bullpen, the Colorado native, who's had a pretty solid career so far, but still young enough that, maybe his best years could be here with the Rockies if he wants it to be. And I would love to see the fans kind of embrace Pierce Johnson. That would be really cool.
Nice. Okay. Exciting things. Who's the surprise standout this year? We've had a few games obviously under our belt for the Rockies here. They're 2-4 going into today's matchup. So far, who is the surprise standout?
That's a really good question. I mean, where it's very short, right? We haven't done a whole lot here. I've been surprised, honestly, that Charlie Blackmon has just come into the season looking very much like his old self. And it hasn't been, by the way, a lot of us were like, well, Charlie will have a little bit of a rebound because they banned the shifting rules. And so he's going to hit more singles to the right side because, I mean, the shift has been brutal on Charlie. But he's been hitting doubles in the gap and home run balls that have long cleared the wall and stuff like that. So it's been nice to see Charlie Blackmon back out there. That's, I think, been one of the bigger, like, oh, wasn't expecting a hot start from the old man, as it were, right? He and I are the same age.
Like, and the young man, Drew, the young man.
From the young man. But yeah, I think that's been the big one for me because, like I said, unfortunately, there haven't been a whole lot of early surprise, like the young guys doing a lot of great things. But for some people, I think maybe the bullpen being generally pretty good is a surprise. I wrote about it. We've talked about it here a few times. So for our folks, not a surprise. But for the world at large, like kind of looking in like, oh, the Rockies bullpen is okay, because that doesn't normally happen.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's talk about Charlie Blackmon a little bit more. We have another question regarding him. Can he have a real bounce back year, do you think? Looks good so far. So we're kind of on the same hill here.
No, I think he can. It's really tempting, and I guess probably in all the sports, right? When a guy's getting up there in age, has a couple of down seasons, and media folks and fans want to write him off, and that's the end of it. He's over. He's done. He's cooked. And at 36 years old, he's not the young pup he was anymore. But again, I feel a little bit of that youth. I plenty of guys have been able to be successful hitters, especially now that he's primarily a DH, to 39. Some guys, the really, really good ones, into their very early 40s. You're talking David Ortiz, Edgar Martinez at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So all timers. But Charlie, he's an interesting guy, right? I've always thought of Charlie Blackmon as one of those guys who had borderline Hall of Fame talent, but never had the Hall of Fame career because he debuted at like 27. But he's an all-time Rocky, and he's a great hitter when he's at his best. And so if, along with the new hitting coach and some of the new rules and all of the effort that Charlie puts into his body, I wouldn't be surprised if, honestly, not only does he have a bounce back year, but he can squeeze another 2 or 3 years out of his career. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he's done. That said, I do think if it goes the other way, he's got to seriously consider calling it. But that's why they play the games, right? If we knew, then they wouldn't have to go out there and perform. And he probably is curious about how much is left in there. It's tough to know
Totally.
how you're going to perform against the best players in the world until you're out there performing against the best players in the world.
Yeah, you can want it so badly, but when there's other people and other factors involved, it's hard to say. But that's why we do this, Drew. That's why we do this AMA, because we want your opinions and your insights. So we appreciate it. We thank you. Yeah, it's going great so far. All right, we got 2 more questions before we wrap up this AMA here on opening day. This next one, do you think Montero can have a breakthrough year? So we're talking about the breakthrough years here.
I mean, it's that time of year, right? That's what people want to know. Who's going to be the
people
guy?
Want to know.
Yeah. This is the one for me that I think really could make the Rocky season a lot more fun. And I do think it's going to happen. I see all the good signs early on. First of all, he had a great spring. In fact, he won the Rockies Abby Greer Award for the most valuable player in spring training. And he was one of the best hitters across the board. Defensively, he's a work in progress. But what I love there is he's actually made a couple of nice defensive plays already, which isn't something that, again, I would expect to happen all the time. But with a young player, a lot of times, if you make a key defensive error early on, you make a couple of mistakes, you get down on yourself, and you can't hit down on yourself. You have to be confident at the plate. Like anywhere else, you can maybe get away with it, but you have to be confident at the plate. And there were times last year, Elehuris Montero looked very confident at the plate, and there were times he didn't. This year, it's almost night and day the way he looks against breaking balls. My friend Thomas Harding over at MLB.com did a great report, actually, about the difference between what's going on with Montero and the breaking balls. And then he's had the at-bats. Like he looks, this is one of those things that baseball people say that people go, oh, ultimately, don't you want the guy hitting home runs and doubles and all that? Yes. And he hit 1 home run in San Diego, which was good. Had an RBI double in that series against the Dodgers, he was the only Rocky to do that. They did not hit well there. But he looks comfortable at the plate. And that is one of the most important things that you can have going for you, especially when you're a young player. So he's got a ton of talent. I think if Montero can come out, have a big opening day in front of a raucous crowd, because Rockies are probably, which is rare in their history, going to have a hard time drawing this year. I mean, they'll draw better than a lot of terrible teams because they always do, but they're not going to sell out the way they have in the past. The crowds aren't going to be as energetic. So I think if this opening weekend he can feed on that energy, and then really this goes for the whole team, but especially a guy like Montero and Tovar, you get that energy in you. And then you hear young guys, not only could that, they have great seasons, but then you'll hear them start to say things like, man, we gotta pack this house again. We gotta be great. We gotta get better. We gotta do everything we can to get to that next level. Because when Coors Field is rocking, it's awesome. And for it to rock, the team has to be rocking, as it were.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about days that are rocking. You have been covering the Rockies for a decade-ish, Drew. Is that
Right?
correct?
Yeah, this
Okay.
will be my 11. I
Okay.
technically came in at the very end of 2013, so I count
Okay.
it. So I'm giving myself, yeah, it's my
Yeah.
11th.
So a decade.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this question's great. To wrap this up, let's hear your three up, your three down of home openers that you've covered. The three best, the three worst.
Oh wow.
Now I'm really putting you on the spot, Drew.
Wow, that's really, yeah, that is on the spot. I don't know if I can come up with 6 home openers off the top of my head. I know, okay, I can do this. And
Top and bottom. Let's do peaks and valleys
I
here.
was
One
gonna
and one.
say I can give you the best and the worst off the top of
That's
my
fine.
head, absolutely.
Okay.
Which do you want first?
The worst.
The worst one, and this is ironic as hell. The worst one was 2018.
That is
The
ironic.
the best season that I have covered
But they've had.
by far
Yeah.
was the worst home opener. It ended up being dubbed Snopening Day. It was at home against, I want to say Atlanta. I might have to look this up,
Okay.
but it was just blizzarding conditions. I remember Marquez was on the hill. They had to delay the game several times. I remember I had to get to like a function like that wasn't close that I kept not. I was like walking back and forth through the snow. So for me personally, it was just one of those, oh boy, things. And the game was miserable. The Rockies lost bad. It was only played because it was opening day. Any other day of the year, they'd have canceled it, but they had all those people around. So the weather was awful. The baseball was awful. And it took 4.5 or 5 hours because there were multiple delays. So it was the worst. And
Oh,
then they went
no.
on to have the best season of their modern history. The best one was the year before it.
Okay.
The best home opener that I covered the year before that, 2017. And the Rockies did go on to make the postseason that year as well, though they lost in the wild card game to the Diamondbacks, which we don't talk about. It's like a we don't talk about Bruno moment for Rockies fans. It's just one of those. But home opener against the Los Angeles Dodgers at Coors Field and making his major league debut, Colorado Rockies' own Denver native, Kyle Freeland.
Nice.
Went out there to some of the it was, I know if I said the word electric before, off the charts electricity. It was hair on end. You could feel like the nerves coming off of it. You could feel that the crowd was nervous for him.
Huh.
It felt like we were all watching our friend go out and do this thing, or like someone we went to school with, because he's
Yeah.
one of ours. And I'm a Colorado native. I'm from here.
Nostalgia.
I know how few. I went to school actually with a guy who made it to Double A for the Colorado Rockies and then retired at
Oh,
27.
yeah.
It's tough to get there, and,
Yeah.
and here's our guy
Yeah.
in this game against the Dodgers, and he went out and pitched. I can't remember, like 7 innings, 1 run. Rockies won a close one, 2-1 or something like that, and the crowd, it was as thumping as I've ever seen that place outside of 2007. It
So cool.
was amazing. And
So cool.
that he pitched so well and that they beat the Dodgers and everything. I was just like, oh man, that's an all-time moment.
Well, hopefully we have another all-time day for you today, Drew, because it is opening day at Coors Field. The Dodgers, the Rockies taking on the Nationals in Denver. Downtown's bumping already, I'm sure, and it's just going to get even better from here, and hopefully all day long after a big win from the Rockies.
Yeah, as much as the playing against the Dodgers raises the stakes and stuff and gets it's nice to play a team you should be able to maybe
Win.
knock them around a little bit. Like,
Yeah, I'll take today for sure.
yeah, come on. It was tough enough opening on the road against two teams that people expect to compete for the World Series. Like, come home, play the Nationals. That'll be nice.
We'll take them.
Yeah, have some fun baseball. And is the weather going to get good?
I mean, it's okay. It's better than the last 2 days, right?
Yeah.
No. The weekend's going to be great, though. Today, it's just going to go up from here.
I think we're going up from here. No snopener. So
no snopener, right?
We at least don't have that.
All right, Drew. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy today. Enjoy the game. And we will reconvene next Thursday for another AMA.
Absolutely.